Final Fantasy X came out in 2001 and was significant in several ways. Not only was it the first game in the series on the PlayStation 2, but it was also the first to feature voice acting instead of simple text dialogue.
No problem. Please. Alrighty.
Oh, Final Fantasy X had voice acting, and that was so strange.
It wasn't bad. I mean, nobody sounded nearly as whiny as they should have, I thought.
Here's the highlight of every male's dialogue.
Final Fantasy X was good, and I love John DiMaggio, but I fucking hated Waka.
Introducing a water motif and a heartbreaking story, Final Fantasy X also made some tweaks to the traditional turn-based battles, turning summons into massive temporary party members instead of mere single attacks.
Yeah, summons for the first time, instead of just being this like 25-minute spell that you cast like in 7, you actually just bring them in, and then they kind of have like their own HP in the fight, which was cool.
Blitzball is awesome. People are gonna come back here and tell you that Blitzball is stupid. Fuck those people.
No, I don't want to tell you about Blitzball.
Blitzball may be one of the worst things.
Blitzball is stupid.
Fuck Blitzball.
Annoying ball? Like,
I love Blitzball!
I like the way Blitzball looked.
Check shot. 10 was cool, but that ending sucked.
Final Fantasy XI surprised longtime fans by taking a different approach, becoming a massively multiplayer online game for the PC and PS2, and later the Xbox 360. The MMO shares some elements of the franchise, such as servers named after summons, but overall is a completely different animal. Final Fantasy XI launched to solid reviews and is still going strong today, despite seemingly alienating some of the franchise's audience. I never saw Final Fantasy as an online thing. I don't understand. I mean, I understand it. I understand how it's a world that's similar enough to most fantasy realms that it makes sense.
I could understand how somebody would be immersed in that, especially if they were in love with all the concepts that came out of the Final Fantasy universe.
Final Fantasy XI, I wish had been called Final Fantasy Online instead, because it really messed up the numbering.
I mean, it seems weird to incorporate it with the numbers, just because it's so different than the other games.
Yeah, why not? It's got all the same shit, right? I mean, you know, mages and little mouse-looking guys, knights. I mean, it's Final Fantasy in the sense that they called it Final Fantasy, and they can call whatever game they want what they want.
Final Fantasy XII was the last Final Fantasy of this era, returning the series to its single-player JRPG roots. The game came out in 2006, 5 years after Final Fantasy X, and fans were hungry for a new Final Fantasy adventure. The real-time active dimension battles, a far cry from the turn-based fighting of yore, has been a point of contention for years. Some gamers loved it, and some hated it, but Final Fantasy XII launched to overwhelmingly positive reviews and sold millions of copies. It also pushed the PS2 to its graphical limits and launched just a few weeks before the PS3, which made it apparent that the next true Final Fantasy would be part of the new gaming generation.
It just proved again that Square and Final Fantasy, really like to push the boundaries of what they can get out of a console.
Oh, the hunts in Final Fantasy XII, it was essentially just grinding, but it was kind of a more goal-oriented grinding.
I definitely like the hunting quests in 12, the best of those. Sphere grids, I like the sphere grid, I liked it a lot better than the license board.
The sphere grid system let you do so much customization, and I spent so much time in there after I figured out what the hell it was. Like, just customizing my characters to the point where I treated it essentially like a mini-game.
Sphere grid, greater sign, license board.
Yeah.
Because it was just like adjacent to everything. It's like, oh, to get through here, I have to go through here. I mean, sphere grid was kind of like that too, but at least it was just like, oh, I know what's next.
The license board to me was just like you start off and you're really strategizing. You're like, all right, I'm gonna get this guy towards his best sword power. By the end, you're just like, I don't care. Blue. That blue in there is good. I don't care.
Like one portion, like, all right, I'm gonna go through here and try and get swords. But then like the square over is like, hammer.
Yeah.
I was trying to get super swords, not hammer.
Yeah.
Yo, the sphere grid was intimidating as fuck. Like, I remember the first time, like, I could level up, and I went to that little menu, I closed it immediately.